Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So a couple of videos ago we talked about no-sew face mask options. So today we're going to talk about sewing face masks. Now today's video is sponsored by Cricut. However, all projects and opinions are my own. So Cricut has released a couple of sewing patterns for face masks. They have got like 4 different sizes, so like an adult large, adult small medium, child large, child small medium. So whatever kind of face mask you need to make, you can find a free pattern right in Cricut Design Space. And I'll link to all those in the description below so you can head there and get your link for all of those. I am going to do one of those, show you how to cut it, show you how to sew it, and show you how to add a little special something to it if you want to add a little whimsy to your face mask during this time. So I'm actually going to do a child version, but the steps are the exact same no matter what size you make. Now I'm going to cut my material on my Cricut Maker because I have one. If you only have the Cricut Explorer, you can use your machine to cut out basically templates or sewing patterns of the designs and then use those to lay on your material and then cut your material with scissors and then follow the steps that we're going to talk about. Now if you don't have either of those, you don't have the Explorer, you don't have the Maker, you don't have a Cricut at all, don't worry. There's a free downloadable pattern just for you so you can make these face masks as well. And then, if you don't have any sewing skills, there's actually some no-sew face masks that Cricut has released as well. And I'll also link to those below, and that way you can see those. If you have an old t-shirt laying around, you can make a no-sew face mask with your Cricut. Just cut the template on your Cricut machine, use it to cut out of an old t-shirt, and make that no-sew face mask if you need it. So let's take a look at the materials we're going to use for this project. For this project, I'm going to use my Cricut Maker fit with my rotary blade. You'll also need the fabric that you're going to want to make the face mask. So it's different for the different sizes, and I'll put the requirements in the description below. But know you will need to pre-wash these fabrics, and then I've ironed them as well. Then you'll need a fabric grip mat, a brayer, some elastic, and I will also put the dimensions for the elastic in the description below. Now, there are a few different options that you can use instead of the elastic, and we'll talk about those as we make the mask. Then you'll need some scissors, a washable fabric pen. This is the Cricut washable fabric pen. We can put it right in the Maker and it will mark the pattern for us. Then you need something for pressing. I like to use my mini Easy Press as well as my Easy Press mat. Now if you want to add, we talked about adding a little flare to your mask, just a small square of iron-on will work for this. And we'll talk a little bit about the designs you can use and how to get it on the mask after we sew the mask itself. Once you click on any of the project links, this screen will pull up and it will tell you what materials you need, the sizes, as well as instructions. So you can definitely follow these instructions or keep watching this video to see the instructions that I gave you. And so once you review all this, you will also notice that these are free. So I don't have to pay for this at all, no matter if I have an Access subscription or not. And then we're going to click Make It. This will pull up the pattern right in Cricut Design Space already loaded onto your mat. So you can see the inner fabric and the outer fabric already laid out on your mat. Now it also has the line markings that the fabric pen will make, marking your lines where you're going to sew. You can actually turn those off if you don't have the fabric pen or you don't want to draw those just with the toggle switch. I'll go ahead and leave those on for this video. And then we'll click Continue. Then we can just set our material. And I'm going to search for medium and choose medium fabrics like cotton. Now it is telling me to load my fabric pen in clamp A, my rotary blade in clamp B, then press the load unload button to load my mat. Now let's take a look at how to add the fabric to the mat. Now we'll just want to lay our fabric on our mat. So you put the good side against the mat, and then press it down well with your hands, removing out any wrinkles. And then I like to go over it with a brayer, just making sure that it's good and stuck down to the mat. Now in this case, the edge of the fabric, I didn't want it to cut it, so I put it up against the sticky part of the mat So this part isn't actually stuck at all because I don't want the Maker to cut that part. So now our fabric is ready and we can add it to our machine. So then we'll just put our mat up against the rollers and press the load and unload button. You'll notice I already added my fabric pin to clamp A and my rotary blade to clamp B, and now I can press the blinking C button to start the cut. Now that this first cut is done, I'm going to unload this mat and repeat with my other pattern pieces. Once your pieces are done cutting, then you can pull back first this outer piece. And then once you have that pulled back, you might want to remove the pieces themselves with some tweezers. So basically you don't want to touch your fabric mat. If you can get these off without touching it, it's fine with your hands. But the oils from your hands can break down the adhesives. So there we have one of our mask pieces. So I went ahead and removed the other pieces from the other mat, and then I'll remove this one from this mat. Now, we've kind of talked about the Cricut Maker because the Cricut Maker can cut fabric like this. If you have the Explorer, you can use the files to make a template. This template is of course the same size as I just cut with my Maker. You could then pin that to fabric and use this as a sewing pattern to cut your own pieces. So you can definitely make this even if you have the Explorer. You would just have to hand cut the fabric itself. So now that we have our fabric pieces cut, let's take a look at how you assemble this mask. So the first thing you'll want to do with your pieces is match them up right sides together. So right side to right side, wrong sides are on the outside. And we're going to sew this outer curve. So you can pin these together to hold them in place. And then because I used that fabric pin to mark, I know exactly where I should sew, so I should just sew along that line. If you did not use the pen, don't have the pen, it's just a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so you can use your sewing machine to do the 1/4 inch. So now I'm going to head to the sewing machine and I'm going to stitch both of these along the curve. Alright, so now we've sewn both of these along that curve. Now I did want to note here that number 1 is your outer piece and it's larger and has an additional line here. Number 2 is your inner liner and it's a little shorter. I'll compare the two here. So it's a little shorter so you don't have this extra line out here. Now that that's stitched, I can clip all along this curve, which means just cutting slightly in, making sure not to cut into your stitched line. So this will help make a cleaner curve once we turn our piece. I'm going to repeat this on both this piece as well as the liner piece. All the way around, from all the way up here to all the way up here, and then we'll go to our next step. Now we're going to do some pressing. So on the liner piece, you fold along the 1/4 inch line and you're going to press. We're going to do that on both sides. So both this side and this side I pressed. Now on the outer piece, we are going to fold on that 1/4 inch line first, press. Then I mentioned that it has a second line. The second line is about 1/2 inch, a little bit more, away from the edge. We're just going to fold that over and press. Now we're going to take both of these and stitch them. So for the liner piece, we want to stitch close to the edge, so close to that edge on the liner. On the outer piece we want to stitch as far in as we can. So as close to this first press as we can. This makes the pocket as big as it can get, and that's where our elastic is going to go inside this pocket. So I'm going to take these to the sewing machine, and I'm going to do stitches on both sides of both pieces. Alright, so I stitched both ends of both masks. Now, next step, we are going to top stitch the curved seam on both of these. So what you want to do is press all of this material to one side or the other, doesn't matter which side, and then we're going to top stitch on that side, but as close as we can get to this seam down the middle. So I'm just going to press this, and this is where something small like this Easy Press Mini is super great for getting in this curve. So I'm going to do this to both the liner as well as the outer piece. Then I'm just going to stitch all the way down one side, making all of the seam go to that one side. And I'm going to do that on both of the pieces. So this is where you can add a touch of whimsy to your face mask if you would like. So I've top stitched both pieces, and on this front piece I'm going to add some iron-on. So I'm going to add this cute smiling bear face. I'll leave a link for the cut file for this one in the description below, but think anything you want here. Smiley faces, cat faces, whatever you like. So we're going to press this one side at a time because of this curve. So we're just going to locate it on the curve, get it approximately where it needs to be, and then sort of fold it out to where we can just get one side of this ironed on. And then this is another great spot for the Easy Press Mini. And you just want to follow all directions with the iron-on you're using for time and temperature. And I'm just going to continue to press, and then we'll see what it looks like when I'm done. So once we get the first half of this press, the easiest thing to do is go ahead and peel back that liner on this half as far back as you can go, and then just trim the liner with a pair of scissors. Then we can get rid of that, and we can lay this out to iron onto the second side. I'll just continue to press the second side. Then once you've pressed this side, you remove the second liner. So now everything's pretty good in stock. The only problems I have are around like the seams. So I want to press it out from the back. So we're just going to use our Easy Press Mini again and press from the back. And then once this press is done, we'll continue making our mask. Right, so once you're happy with the way your iron-on looks, we're going to finish our mask. So we have our front, then we have our liner, and we're going to put those right sides together. So the liner goes over the top, and we're going to stitch along the top and the bottom. So along the top here, along the bottom here. And you might want to just pin these together. So line up the seams at the top, line up the seams at the bottom, then pin on the four corners. Now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, stitch along the top, stitch along the bottom. So you don't want to stitch these pockets on the sides closed, so that is going to be your filter pocket if you want to insert a filter. So do leave these both open only stitch along these areas. So I did also want to note that I used a 1/4 inch seam allowance, so I just stitched along the markings because I marked it, but if you didn't, then just use a 1/4 inch seam. And then you also want to make sure that this casing on the side is open all the way through, because that's where your elastic's going to go. So don't stitch all the way to the end. Stop before you get to the end on both sides. And then we're just going to use one of these openings to turn this right side out. And we're just going to press both of these seams. So once we press both these seams, I'm going to go back and top stitch over both of those just to reinforce them. So we're going to stitch both of these and then reinforce them on both ends. And then we can start adding our elastic and finishing our mask. Alright, I'm actually going to use elastic in my face mask. We'll talk a little bit about your options if you can't find elastic at the end of the video. This elastic is actually a little wider than it's called for, but it's fine. Then I'm just going to add a safety pin to one end. We're just going to work this through on one side. Using the safety pin to help force it through. Then we'll bring it around to the second side. Again, just use the safety pin to force it through. Then because I have the elastic, I'm just going to use the zigzag stitch and stitch these two ends together to finish this off. And then we'll look at the completed mask and talk about some options if you don't have elastic, if you're running short on material, all those type of options to complete your mask. Alright, so there you have our small child-sized face mask with a cute little bear face and iron-on it. Now, let's talk about options. If you don't have elastic, you can use ribbon, string, whatever. Just skip that last part where I connected the two. So what you'll have is a loop at the top, and you'll have two strings hanging down. Put it over the child's head with the first loop, or over your head, and then use the strings at the bottom to tie around your neck. And then the face mask will fit, but you can have the tie at the back loop over across the top. You will want to make it longer. So there's dimensions for the elastic that I'm going to give you in the description below. But you're going to want to make it longer if you need to add that length to tie. Now, running out of ribbon, running out of string, whatever, if you have an old t-shirt, you can actually cut the base of the t-shirt into strips, inch, half an inch to an inch thick, and then kind of stretch it a little bit, and it makes like stretchy, long kind of t-shirt yarn, basically. And you can use it around through there. Again, it will need to tie, so you'll need to leave two pieces on one end to tie around your neck. Now, fabric. I would recommend 100% cotton, good quality fabric. This one does have a filter pocket, so you can put a filter on the inside. I'm not recommending any filter materials because I haven't seen any good data on that, but you can definitely research that on your own, add a filter to the inside of this one, but I would definitely recommend 100% cotton. Or there's also a recommendation out there for Alifun. Alifun is actually the material that reusable shopping bags are made out of. It's that polypropylene type material. The only problem with that is the pressing, so you just want to be really careful when you're pressing on that, as you can melt that material. So that's the only problem with that material that I see. But 100% cotton. Now, if you have an old t-shirt and want to make a face mask, there's actually a no-sew pattern on Cricut Design Space. I'm going to link that below, and you can just use an old t-shirt, no sewing required, no string, no anything, that actually cut part of the t-shirt to like loop around your ears. So it's a really cool pattern, and you can use it to make some face masks for your family if you have some old t-shirts lying around and you just can't find anything else. So try those as well. So I hope you enjoyed this cute little child-sized face mask. So these do come in all sizes, and they are a fitted face mask, so they'll really fit to the contour of your face. So if you like that look and you can sew, then definitely try this one. And if you want to add a little whimsy to your face mask or the kids, try some iron-on on the front with a little face, and that way everyone sees you smiling, even though they can't see your mouth. So thank you all so much for joining me today. I hope you'll try these patterns on Cricut Design Space, whether you have the Cricut Maker, like I did, or the Cricut Explorer, which I gave you those options, or you can cut that template, that no-sew template, and make it out of t-shirts. So cut the template with your Cricut and then make it out of a t-shirt and have an awesome face mask, even if you can't sew. And remember, even if you don't have the Explorer or the Maker, there's a free downloadable PDF pattern. I'll leave a link for those below as well, so you can download and make these masks, even if you don't have any Cricut machine at all. So get to making. So thank you all so much for joining me today. If you have any questions about anything we've covered, the face mask itself, the options we've talked about, drop those in the comment section below. If you love this video, if it's helpful for you, if maybe your kids are gonna love the little animal face on their face mask, then please give us a thumbs up. You'll also want to head on over our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. We have Cricut videos every week and you don't want to miss any of those. So thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you next week with another fun Cricut video. Thanks, and bye-bye.